co-founder and partner at Volition Capital, a private equity company, and Volition Blue. As an impact-oriented business leader, he has founded multiple thriving businesses through Vinia Group, a venture creation and investment company focused on investing in people and impacting lives. He has led Vinia Group for over a decade, during which it was recognized as one of the 100 companies to inspire Africa by the London Stock Exchange Group in 2019. Kola, who holds a degree in computer science from the University of Nottingham, UK, recently concluded his master's degree in public administration at Harvard Kennedy School, and as a Mason and Glitzman Fellow and a Fellow of the Harvard Center for Public Leadership. He was honored with the Eric Yankert Award for distinguished contribution to the Mason program and Harvard Kennedy School. Kola continues to balance his entrepreneurial passion with his nation-building drive and an unwavering commitment to a family while being very active in his Christian faith. Please welcome to the platform, with a warm applause, Mr. Kola Oyeneyin.
Good morning, the platform. Oh, wow. I heard before coming that there's usually a lot of energy at the platform. So good morning, the platform. Good morning. That sounds more like it. Good morning, Nigeria, and good morning, Nigerians. Happy Independence Day, or Happy Democracy Day. I truly hope that you find some happiness in this democracy day that we're celebrating. And I do hope that as the years come along after the first 25 years of democracy, it becomes happier and happier as we get along. First, Your Excellencies, both the ones that I have the honor to share the platform with today and those that are present in the audience or connected online or on TV, and also my colleagues or seniors at the platform, like the ones who are veterans on this platform and consistent speakers. It's an honor to stand here today and share the platform with you. I want to especially recognize and appreciate the man who this morning I was asking him that how do you do it? How do you pack so much into your, because as far as we know, you were on the train somewhere yesterday outside of Nigeria, and this morning you are sitting in Ikeja hall here. Let's celebrate the man who does so much for Nigeria, but more importantly also for our faith globally. Let's celebrate Pastor Oyeneyin and his beloved wife, my very dear sister, Pastor Kola Oyeneyin. I think we can do better than that. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for the addition that you have added to Nigeria's growth and development. All right, I have a very long way to go today and a short time to get there, so I'm going to move very fast. The challenge of having to speak on such a potent topic and to combine democracy, which is a very, very big topic on its own, and free market, which is also another very big topic, is that you're caught between two worlds. And so you have to find where you want to really stay. So today I've decided to park my bus at the free market area. And a lot of time when someone who's active in business or who is a private sector operator speaks about free market, there's usually this whole notion by people in government or everybody else is, oh, they simply just want to make more money, or they simply just want to, create more. And I always said, yeah, why not? Why not us create more values for everybody else to benefit from and create more jobs and open up the space? But I'll touch on democracy because you cannot have free market without speaking about democracy and our democratic values. However, my views about democracy itself requires a separate symposium. And whether Nigeria should be a democracy or not also requires a separate symposium. So therefore, maybe another platform will be created for those who will speak on that, because there are views around what kind of democracy should we be running. So I want to subtitle what I'll spend the next few minutes talking about, which is around the bread the baker and the bakery. The bread, the baker, and the bakery. About 5 years ago, I got to a point in my life, and for those who know me prior to now, beyond just being a private sector operator and being a faith person, is that I have, by the grace of God, done a few things in sort of like nation building space. Some of us got burnt after many things that happened in Nigeria in a rather short life. And so by 2019, I completely was tired. I said I had no idea what to do as far as Nigeria is concerned anymore. This thing had become what you call in an economic environment, what you call a wicked problem. A wicked problem is a problem that has defiled many solutions where it's hard to solve. I said, okay, I must need a new kind of understanding. So I left Nigeria for the second time. I said I must go away for about a year plus to go and just get educated. They must have solutions somewhere. So I went. And so I was in class just like you're seeing here, and I remember, everybody was going around the room to share why they are here. And I come from 125 different countries, different people. And I'd come from Nigeria as one of the only two people that had come and spending a year to understand how do we go back and solve this thing called Nigeria. And so they asked, so Kola, so why are you here? And I said, well, I came for answers. I said, okay, answers to what? I said, well, answers to a problem that has defiled a lot of logic. I said, where are you from? I said, I'm from Nigeria. I said, oh, wow, Nigeria, we are looking for answers too. I said, you guys are looking for answers to that? I said, yes. I said, because based on everything that we know and see and the indices that we have, Nigeria shouldn't be where it is. So we are hoping that you'll be able to provide us some answers. At that point, I said, sorry, can I get my money back? Because obviously it now means that I'm not going to get the answer that I want. But let me quickly, so because of that, I spent a year and of course got on the play. But what I did get was the ability to ask better questions. The ability to say that maybe we have been asking the wrong question as far as Nigeria is concerned, but the ability to ask better questions. So therefore, on this one I have on the screen there something that is common to many of us, bread. Bread is an important part of our lives. And bread means different things to different people. Bread, to you, some people, is fuel they put in their car to help them get to work to go and look for bread for the day. But you see, bread was so instrumental in France, and I'm using France in 1978, in 1789. And it led to a point where it created the price of bread becoming highly inflated, led to a major riot in France that led to what you call the French Revolution. And from a statement that was made by the then queen to say, why are the Parisians asking for bread? Tell them to eat cake, meaning that whatever they can find to eat, let them eat. And so the Parisians said, is that so? And so they marched to the palace, and we now know the rest is history as far as that is concerned. Give us this day our daily bread. It's a prayer that is actually common across different religions. Pray differently. But bread is an essential part, meaning that in life, if your inability to access what to eat is a major, major, major problem and dilemma for people. Now, the price of bread in 2024 is approximately 1,800 naira. And this same price in 1979 apparently can buy us a Peugeot 504. So we have come quite a long way. I didn't believe this at first when Business Day released it, so I spoke to somebody who is old enough to remember. I said, oh yes. In fact, he said it was 1,680 specifically. So what you used to buy a loaf of bread today bought a car at some point in this country. So therefore, our national bread has shrunk. It's become smaller and smaller. And the sharer of the bread has grown bigger and bigger. We were 125 million when we came into democracy. We are 220 million people today. And we're sharing from a small piece of bread called GDP. Can I have my guys, please? The GDP of Nigeria, at some point, we were number 4. So we were number 1, and we were $450 billion that we were earning. It was being shared by almost 200 million people. Now we are down to 250-something million in terms of what we're getting. Is it enough? And we are growing in population. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I have come to show us our national bread. Because you see, economists can fly over people's head many times. We can sit in this place and I can throw data at you. And you leave wondering, what have they just described to us? So this is our bread. This is Nigeria's bread, and I'm going to hand it over to these citizens of Nigeria who are meant to share this bread. There are 10 of them, representing 200 million people. All right, share. Let's pass it on. All right, let's keep passing it on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think you get the point. Well, please come. Please come. Every single time I have done this social experiment, I have always wondered how this guy always, a different guy by the way, always ends up with this piece of bread, and how this guy got this piece of bread. This is what 95% of Nigerians, some of whom represented in this room, this is what you get. Do you agree with me? Yes. This is what the 1% of the 1%, this is what they get. What 7 of them didn't know was that prior to this, these 3 people came to come and meet me. They had a conversation with me as I came into power, and they seized my government, called state capture. And I told them that as we are creating value, the value will be passed to you. Take as much as you want out of it. The rest, these people can share. Can you see the result? See what 3 of them have, see what 7 people have. That's why the national bread can never be enough. It cannot be enough because the bread itself is not enough to share. But when you then have a system that is not a free market economy that allows for demand and supply to happen, that allows for value creation to take place freely without the intervention of somebody somewhere with a piece of paper and a pen, letting these people take a lion's share, of course, they will always get a shorter end of the stick. Where we want to get to is a world where perhaps he has enough, doesn't need to be rewarded. Please take. Perhaps they need to then be rewarded equally, across board. And maybe we will live in a more equitable and, he said, okay, he said he won, all right. And bonus, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, thank you. If you don't take anything out of here today, please remember this very well. That the idea of democracy, no matter how we define it, if it's not delivering equity and justice, it is no democracy. No matter how we define it, if democracy is not delivering equity, as you saw in the end, it's not a democracy. So I'm going to jump over the definition of free market. Those are things you can Google. And really, ChatGPT can describe it better than I can do now. So, but the key idea is that, number one, it ensures freedom, exchange of goods and services, and it allows competition. Let me give an example quickly. The bag of cement is 10,000, almost 10,000 naira today. Free market economy should allow someone in this room who has found a system that exists somewhere in the world that allows for them to bring cement into Nigeria
Follow me? Because some people talk about why we importing certain things. Again, that's why I said, there's no time to unpack it. But if the landing cost plus duty would deliver to Nigerian builders and users of cement at 5,000 naira, half the price, should they bring it in or not? Why should we leave it at 10,000 in the hands of 3-4 people to continue to dominate a few people who can't even afford to build houses? And we say we operate a free economy. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's why that freedom of exchange of goods and services, as long as we keep our trade balance, our trade result report balanced, then there's no issue with free market in terms of import and export. Let me move quickly. Adam Smith, who purported the idea of free market, introduced a concept called the invisible hand. It is the invisible hand that ensures that government stays out of business. The business of government is not in doing business, but is in enabling businesses to do business. Let me repeat myself. The business of government is not in doing business, but in enabling businesses to do business in a viable environment. And the invisible hands will ensure that it takes place. I don't want to go into the issue of dollar and naira conversion. That's a big topic that we can stay here for. The power of free market is what enabled these two people, John D. Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan, to be one of the men that built America by one person being a man of finance providing capital to Thomas Edison that discovered the light bulb, and John D. Rockefeller being oil and gas producing kerosene that people were using to light. One ended up killing the other one. Free market allowed it to happen. But today, you have light bulbs today because his house was the first one to get lit up. That's what free market does. Let's move very quickly. A tale of two nations. So the first thing you must understand is democracy must ensure equity for the people. Two nations, and I'll tell you a short story. Between 1960 and 1968, two countries made two different decisions that changed the course of their lives. One country is very close to us here. It's called Ghana. They like to think that their jollof rice is better than ours, but we always disagree. But another country is a very small island, very close to China, that China doesn't want to let go of, but they've become very important to the world. It's called Taiwan. Ghana and Taiwan made two different decisions at two different times. Ghana made a decision to make formal education, your ability to speak Queen's English, as you want it to be, made it compulsory for all, and in some cases free. Taiwan said, we don't care much about Queen's English. Speak basic English, or no English at all. However, set up a policy for technological and vocational training. Made that compulsory for all Taiwanese. Ladies and gentlemen, a few years later, even though both of them started at about $300 in 1968 GDP per capita, by the time you get to 2020, this is what Taiwan's export basket looks like. Inside that export basket, compared to Ghana, is a blue area that you can see there that represents 42% of what they now export to the world, that is called semiconductors. Semiconductors today is now powering everything you can think of today, from the phone I'm holding, semiconductor, clicker, semiconductor, microphone, semiconductor, these screens you're looking at, semiconductors everywhere. Taiwan has become, the world depends on Taiwan. If Taiwan runs into production issue of semiconductors, nothing electrical comes out by a policy of government. And by the way, Taiwan is not a democracy. And they're able to do that. Let me tell you what this has led to. It's what I call the Great Divergence. Look at Taiwan's GDP per capita today. Has grown 165 times to $48,000 GDP per capita, which is a measure of how much each person is won. It's different from GDP. What you saw here was GDP per capita that are distributed. The bulk was GDP. Now, Ghana is less than 3,000. Grew 10,000 in almost 50 years. 10 times in almost 50 years. Are we getting it? Let me now make a statement here that perhaps out of everything I said today is something that I want everybody to take home. What a nation makes is what makes a nation. Let me repeat myself. What a nation makes is what makes a nation. No matter how we hail Nigeria, what a nation makes is what makes a nation. So, what China makes, what Indonesia makes, what the US makes, you can see the export basket. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what Nigeria makes. What Nigeria makes is sitting in that place, 70% or almost if you add gas to it, it comes to about 85% of what we make is oil in its crudest form. No skill, nothing applied to it. And by the way, a portion of it being stolen. Let me just pause here and just say, by the way, normal people cannot steal oil. I hope you know that. Unless if you have the capacity to steal crude in this way, can I see your hand? There is a level of sophistication that is required to steal crude. From vessels to security to pipeline, I mean, it's sophisticated. So therefore, the people that are stealing crude are not in this room. I can almost guarantee. Unless you are. So, so therefore, we are one main product. And this product, we cannot protect it. Think about it, maybe because my background is in business. If I'm making one product or one service, and in that product is being stolen, I don't know what the number of items that I have in my shop. How do I make money? Nigeria's NNPC, in its history, only recently declared profit around 2017. I mean, if I run a business for 40 years and it's not making profit, the first is who's subsidizing it? Who's paying salary? There must be something in that arrangement. We couldn't even see the books for a long time. The equivalent of Nigeria's NNPC, that is called Saudi Aramco, is a company led by the way, government, not in a democracy, that is worth $1.9 trillion. Is the number 4 highest, I think the 4th market cap in the world as a company. Saudi Aramco. The same oil in the hands of Saudi is different in the hands of Nigeria. Let me move very quickly. We don't have time to listen to this video, but maybe it will be shared with us, and then let me move very quick. That's a video that shows how Saudi monitors every drop of oil that comes into the country. As I begin to wrap this up and maybe deliver where I'm really going today, 25 years of democracy is a very long time. A lot of things didn't exist 25 years ago. Google was barely a year old in 25 years ago. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram that we use today didn't exist 25 years ago. By the way, our telco sector almost didn't exist 25 years ago. 130 million Nigerians didn't exist 25 years ago. A whole financial payment system didn't exist 25 years ago. So 25 years is a very long time. In 25 years, China has moved 750 million out of poverty. Nigeria has dropped 80 into poverty. A lot can happen in 25 years. And by the way, I'm a patriotic Nigerian and I love my country. But data does not lie. In God we trust. Everybody else bring data. This is what data tells us. In the last few administrations of our democracy, this is where we have been. The lowest we ever grew 1% was in the previous administration. The first administration took Nigeria and took some major bets that got us somewhere important. I'll move very quickly across our complexity as a country and get to where I really want to get to today. Now, as we begin to look forward for the next 25 years, we must now begin to say, what strategic bet can we take? We're here for ideas, and I want to put one on the table. It might look simple. It might look like we're not ambitious enough. But you see, monkeys have a way of jumping in the forest. They don't jump too high so they don't fall. They jump to the nearest tree and the nearest tree and the nearest tree. Nigeria, consider yourself a monkey that must jump from where you are to another tree that is closest to you, low-hanging fruit. So I present to you $100 billion idea that is right in front of us. There's this young man that I like quite much. Some people that are here might know him. Interesting guy. His name is Lai Wasabi. He represents what I like to call the creative, many of them, creative economy in Nigeria. This is an economy that potentially can add $100 billion to our GDP, this is our bread, by 2030 if we do get a few things right. It cuts across from movies to fashion to photography to painting to, it cuts across, and we've seen us try to generate, the global industry is about $3 trillion. Africa contributes about $70 billion. Nigeria, reportedly by NBC, has earned about $15 billion from creative economy. What I'm saying is that can we 10x it in 6 years? I believe we can if we're serious. What do we need to do? Number one is driven by young people and global audience and their desires. So therefore, their key enablers, data, technology, free market must be allowed. Free tax system. Look, taxation is not a pathway to prosperity of any kind. Don't tax the people to death. Don't just let the poor breathe. Let the poor thrive. Let the poor become prosperous. Hear me and hear me well as I begin to wrap up. We must ensure, so some of these young people are earning an average of $10,000 currently from content creation, but they cannot bring it into Nigeria. Why? Because our banking system, our postal system, I don't have time to go into the monetization of platforms like YouTube and co, does not make it possible for them to do it easily. If I were government, what I would be doing is, what do I need to enable to ensure that, I'm CBN governor, I'm looking for dollars, but there's dollars sitting abroad that can't come into Nigeria. How do I enable it to come in? And then I must get my ambassadors and embassies to now begin to speak about Nigerian culture and Nigerian content and Nigerian music and Nigerian fashion and everything Nigeria, and that becomes what I focus on. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you the new economy of Nigeria, and the people that must bargain for this to happen are the people that I call the soft bands of Nigeria. These are people who have a responsibility to not just live a soft life, but to ensure that they now begin to go into government and bargain for development, not bargain for self. Bandits are the ones with guns that go around and make headlines. But you see, they are economic bandits who use pens to move state funds into private pocket. Have a wonderful day. God bless you. Thank you.